This time I'm going to be solo backpacking around Morocco. I'll be spending the next 10 days uncovering what this incredible and diverse country has to offer. As this is my first time in North Africa, I'll be staying in Marrakech, using the city as a base to explore some of the country's top attractions. Look at how green it is. Who'd have thunk it? That is actually a bird's nest. You've got to be super careful crossing the roads here, it's just mental. In this two-part mini-series, I'm going to show you what it's actually like backpacking in Morocco. We'll explore some of the country's natural wonders. We'll meet the locals and learn about the history and culture. And finally, we'll head on a 3-day excursion into the Sahara Desert.
This is arrogant.
Moroccan hospitality. Cheers. Welcome to the Sahara Desert. Bonjour.
Hola. Hello. Namaste.
Welcome to the Sahara Desert. It's hard to believe that these dunes here stretch over 3.5 million miles across the desert. This, during the day, is one of the harshest, most hot environments on the planet. But isn't it just spectacular? Good morning guys, it's 6:30 AM and today I start heading towards the Sahara Desert. After spending a little over a week soaking up the sights and sounds of Marrakech, it was time to leave the city behind and start an epic journey towards the Sahara Desert. Our first stop was the famous city of Ait Benhaddou, which today is Morocco's biggest movie location, hosting some big budget productions such as Prince of Persia, Game of Thrones, and arguably one of my favourite movies ever, Gladiator. So this room that I'm stood in right now was actually the scene on Gladiator where the soldiers, sorry not the soldiers, the gladiators, were sat waiting to fight. Pretty cool.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is that why you are here?
Apart from being a filming location for more than 10 movies, this 45 village is a UNESCO protected site, still resembling its days from the 11th century, where it was a former caravan route between the Sahara and Marrakech. There are still 4 families that live within the ancient village, and we were told by our guide that they make their living from visiting tourists and are even used as extras in the movies that are filmed here. It's not bad, is it? What's up guys? It's been one hell of a day today. We spent most of the day driving, So from Marrakech to Sahara, it's actually an 11-hour drive. We haven't gone that far today, we've only done about 6. We're actually stopped halfway in a little town. The name of it escapes me. But basically, we're going to be spending the night here. As of tonight, I'm going to the bar, I'm getting pissed, I'm jumping in the pool, I'm doing all that fun stuff, and I ain't filming it because I'm shattered, so I'll see you tomorrow. Jesus, trying to find coffee in Morocco is a nightmare. Nothing opens till late. Oh, and that brings me to another point. If you're coming to Morocco and you want to have a few beers, alcohol is really hard to find here, especially in Marrakech, because it's an Islamic country. They don't drink alcohol, so you've really got to search far and wide for it. Just a point worth adding. So we've got another long day of driving today. We're going to stop off at some gorges, and hopefully by this evening we'll be reaching the gateway to the Sahara, where we'll get on some camels and head off to a desert camp. This is the Todra Gorge. The gorge is made entirely from limestone and is a natural oasis in the Atlas Mountains of Morocco. Many of the canyon walls can reach up to 400 metres in height, which makes it a haven for climbers and photographers. The surrounding area is home to a number of Berber tribes and a small mining town which lies close to the Dadies River. So we've hit the road again this morning, and we've just stopped off at this amazing gorge. And look at how green it is. Who'd have thunk it? Morocco actually has lush green plantation in it. This is where the local people grow the crops, and it's just spectacular. It's amazing. It's like an oasis in the desert. Dog crying. Honestly, I didn't think that Morocco was actually this lush and green, but as soon as you leave the major cities and you head out into the countryside, it's just a completely different landscape. Well, that was quite an experience. We were just invited into a Berber home and offered some tea while they showed us how they made carpets. It was really interesting actually. The people here are so friendly. I'm not going to buy a carpet because I can't take it home, but I've left them a little tip, so it's just a nice little thing to see. God man, we've been driving for about 6 hours again today, but we've finally reached the gateway to the Sahara. And if you can just see behind me there, where are we? There the camels that we're going to be going into the dunes. Now somewhere over the dune over there is a desert camp for the night. I'm super excited about seeing it, to be honest, but it's ridiculously hot here. It's actually around 6 o'clock now, so it's gone a little bit cooler, but when we first arrived here it was clocking on at 45 degrees Celsius, which was insane. So for those of you who follow the channel, you'll know that this is not my first rodeo. I've actually been in the desert before. The last desert I went in was Namibia, the Namib Desert, and I thought that was hot, but this is like doubly hot. It's just crazy. I've had to put some pants on because I was just burning. I'm actually super looking forward to meeting my camel. The Sahara Desert is the largest hot desert on Earth. It comprises much of North Africa, covering a total area of 9,200,000 square kilometres. To put this into perspective, you can imagine an area the size of China or the United States. Welcome to the Sahara Desert. It's hard to believe that these dunes here stretch over 3.5 million miles across the desert. This, during the day, is one of the harshest, most hot environments on the planet. But isn't it just spectacular? That evening, we finally made it to our desert camp, where we were treated to a traditional Berber meal and some live music, and it wasn't long before the group got involved. Now, personally, I'm not much of a dancer, but I do have a history of playing the drums, so I took part in joining the band instead. The next morning, after a perfect night sleeping under the stars, it was time to get back on our camels and head back to base, where our driver was waiting to take us back to Marrakech. Good morning, good morning. We finally arrived at our desert camp last night at about 9 PM. We had a nice Berber meal and we had some live music, which was cool, and everybody got involved, did a bit of dancing. This morning was an early one. We got up at 5:30 AM to watch the sun rise over the dunes. Pretty spectacular. And now we just got back from an hour-long trip on the camels back to our little base here, and now today we've unfortunately got an 11-hour drive. Oh dear, but it's all good fun. Back to Marrakech. Alright, so I've just arrived back in Marrakech. I've actually checked into a new hostel, just for a change of scenery really. I've got to tell you, after spending 3 days in the Sahara, a nice little hostel with a shower is just magic. The hostel I'm staying in is run by a couple of dudes who live here, and it's just a really cosy, relaxed atmosphere. It's called the Earth Hostel, and don't ask me where it is because I literally don't know. It's somewhere in the Medina. I couldn't find it without Google Maps. So I think this morning I'm going to go and grab a coffee, sit on a roof terrace somewhere and make a plan for the day. I might go and check out the Saadian tombs, which I don't know much about as usual. Oh, hello mate. Look at this guy. Hello mate. Where? Where? There you are. Oh. Abandoned for centuries, the Saadian tombs were rediscovered by aerial photography in 1917. The tombs are the final resting place of 60 members of the Saadi dynasty, and among the graves are those of Sultan Ahmed al-Mansur and his family. The monuments are made from Italian marble, and in the main courtyard are the graves of the Sultan's soldiers and servants. So I've just made my way to the Saadian tombs. Everything's in French again, so it's quite difficult to know what I'm looking at. I would recommend getting a guide if you want to know about this place. But these tombs were actually only recently discovered in the late 1900s, and then they were excavated, and you've got all these little, I'm guessing that's a child's grave. The architecture and the tiles, and it's just amazing. I mean, look at this. I'm going to do a close-up on this now. It's just spectacular. It must have took forever and a day to carve that out. Something I can tell you is, if you notice all around Marrakech they have these like holes in the walls. Now for the bigger buildings like this, they're actually how they built the scaffolding. They stuck wooden poles into the walls. On the smaller buildings that you see around Marrakech, the more fortified buildings like the old forts and that, they're closer to the roof and they're further apart, and they were for sticking the muskets through, the guns. What? What? So there's a lot of cats here in Marrakech. Oh yes, first coffee of the day. I think that actually brings me to another episode of Tip Time, because I'm coming to the end of my trip. There's a few more things I've learnt, so let's get into it.
Oh yeah!
Alright, so one of the main things I've noticed here in Marrakech is trying to find coffee in the morning is really quite difficult, because nothing really opens till maybe 9:30, 10. So if you're an early riser, good luck with that. And then on the same lines, alcohol, because Morocco is an Islamic country, it's so difficult to find alcohol here. There are some Muslims that drink alcohol, but you've got to travel far and wide to find a place that serves alcohol. If you've got a good hostel or a good riad or hotel, you're likely to get it in there, but if you just want to go out for a glass of wine at night with your meal, you've got no chance, I'm sorry. You've got to really stray to like the new part of town, which is It's a fur walk if you're staying in the Medina, so alcohol is not easy to find. So I want to talk a little bit about the tours that I've done here in Morocco. I used the same tour company twice, called Marrakech Travel Services. First I went to the Ouzoud waterfalls, which was an amazing day. I just thought it could have been that little bit better. I only paid £22 for that day trip, so I can't really complain. You drive for 3 hours, you're there for 3 hours, and then you drive back for 3 hours. And it makes it quite a long day. Or you meet up with the guide, and the guide just walks you straight around the waterfall, and then that's it. You're back in the van and you're going home. You don't really get any free time. But it's just something to keep in mind. If you do go to the waterfall, I would recommend renting a car and going by yourself. I think I've made a new friend. The second tour was the Sahara trip. I can't really fault it that much. So it's 11 hours there, but on the way there you stop at Ait Benhaddou, which is the ancient city. But the last day on the way back is just 11 hours straight drive, which is actually pretty exhausting, especially in the heat of the desert. But that tour was fantastic. I would definitely recommend that. I paid £95 for that 3-day trip. But there is something you want to keep in mind. There is a lot of added extras. You're going to need to take some money with you. There was this situation where we had to buy a scarf for our head, and we sort of felt a little bit pressured into buying one. He was saying that you can't go into the desert without it. If you can avoid it, I wouldn't bother buying a scarf, because they're way overpriced as well. If you bought a scarf in Marrakech before you went, that's better. Apart from that, if you're coming to Morocco, just have a little bit of respect for the people, for the local people. They don't like you filming them. If you see something that you really want to film or take a picture of, just go and nicely ask them, offer them a bit of money, and ask them, can you take a picture of them? And most people will say yeah. There's one last thing that I just want to mention. I think I should say it. Since being here, I've got a newfound respect for the Islamic culture and the Islamic people. I know back in the West we give them a bit of a bad name, but I don't think that's completely fair, because in my experience, these are the most friendliest, welcoming, just cool people I've ever met anywhere else in the world. And yeah, I think I'm going to miss this place a little bit. But until next time, keep roaming. Peace.